Assalamu alaikum, family. Peace be unto you. You're tuned into the Sajda channel, and today we're going to be talking about removing those blockages. All it really takes is awareness and a little practice. So let's get into it. Be a friend, tell a friend, and we'll be right back after a few short minutes and a beautiful prayer. See you in a few.
O Allah, guide me among those whom Thou hast guided aright, and preserve me among those whom Thou hast preserved, and befriend me among those whom Thou hast befriended. Bless me in whatsoever Thou dost grant me, and deliver me from the evil of what Thou hast judged. Surely Thou judgest, and none can judge against Thee, and he whom Thou befriendest is not disgraced. Blessed art Thou, O Lord, and exalted be Thee above what they set up besides Thee. I bear witness, nothing deserves to be served besides Thee, and I bear witness that Muhammad is Thy servant and apostle. Amen.
Assalamu alaikum, family. Welcome to the Sajda Morning Coffee Talks, and you're tuned in. I'm your host, Sajda Wendy Muhammad, and today we're going to be working to align our thoughts, our emotions, and our energy in a way that helps us to have the mind of self-governance, the mind of doing for self, the mind of entrepreneurship. Today, I want to talk about a subtle but very powerful form of bondage. It's when we are carrying someone else's story. It's the most common and visible way that we block our own expansion. I cover this a little bit in our new favorite book, The Art and Science of Business. If you don't already have it, I'm going to ask that you go right here, this way, to the website and grab it. Thank you to those of you who have already got it and given me feedback and gone out on Amazon and left some amazing reviews. I am so grateful for you. Thank you for those who have already sent me your photo with the book. I appreciate that as well. And I thank you all for that. So y'all know I'm all about helping us move forward. Like I said, self-governance, doing for self. What are some of the things that are blocking us? How do we get past some of those things? I'm talking about today, though, when we live out the fears, the wounds, and the unfinished emotional business of someone else. That someone else could be a parent, a friend, a collective, meaning a community. And you live it out so much and you embody those fears and unfinished business so much that you can no longer tell where your pain ends and your purpose begins. And you can no longer tell where their pain ends and your purpose begins. So one of the things we do on the show, for those of you who are new to the show, is we try to raise awareness. I learned in my journey as an emotional intelligence coach that awareness is the mother of all things. It's the mother of change, the mother of evolution. It's the awareness. And then outside of the awareness, or I shouldn't say outside of it, but overarching the concept of our personal awareness is the idea that we worship a power greater than ourselves that is always preparing a table, that is always stepping in and stepping out for us in spaces that we don't know to be aware of, or that we are not aware of, or that we've never even prayed for because we don't know they exist. So from a psychological perspective, let's begin here. This type of stuff begins in childhood. As children, we are empathetic sponges. Literally, I tell people all the time, your children pick up everything. They pick up what you say directly, and they pick up what you say indirectly or what you don't say. They pick up what you do and what they see you do, and they pick up what they don't see you do. They are empathetic, energetic sponges. We absorb not just what our parents say, but what they feel. It's why it's so powerful when in our community, you hear us say things like, we pray to the ancestors, or we are embodying some of the things that they didn't get a chance to do, or we're stepping up with pride to do something because our ancestors didn't get a chance to do it. We are absorbing that. We talked about this on the show. They call it epigenetics. But we absorb, and we absorb it to the point where these kind of things go into our DNA. And when we start learning how to think and learning how to deposit different things into our mind that impact what we manifest around us, how our cellular structure of our body adjusts to those thoughts, we in essence are literally changing our DNA. Okay? So if we know for a fact that we've had bad mental habits, like if we know we've been worrying, if we know we've been angry, if we know we've been just doing things that we should not have done mentally, if we know that we've been just very intense about something that is wrong for us, trust and believe that the cells in your body are responding to those thoughts in your mind. And so the idea is to just adjust how you see yourself. Some people use affirmations, some people raise their awareness, but the idea is you have to adjust what you mentally nurse on every single day. And think about it mathematically. If you've ever been my coaching client, you hear me say this. You may say, well, I listen to a lecture from the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan every day, or I'm a TD Jakes fan and I listen to that every day. But when you finish listening to the lecture, what do? If you've got 24 hours in the day, if 10% is nursing on a good word, that's good. But if 40% is stressing, worrying, being angry, cussing folks out, being competitive, trying to hurt somebody, then what's happening energetically in your life? Whatever you're focusing on is what is controlling your life. So while you got that good 10%, it's not enough to combat, say, the 40% of negativity that you're putting into your body. This is why we always say, man, but that person was such a good person. How could this happen? A lot of times it has a lot, not all the time, but a lot of times it has a lot to do with the predominant thoughts in that person's mind. Okay. If a mother carries shame about her own unfulfilled dreams, her daughter may internalize that shame as a silent rule. It's safer not to shine too brightly. Things like that. Sometimes we're wondering why we don't push hard, because maybe we had a parent that in their zeal to protect us stifled us. So instead of saying you can do whatever you put your mind to, maybe try saying something my mother used to say to me is, there's a table prepared for you in the face of your enemies. But sometimes that parent may have gone through trauma and they're trying to protect their child. And in that protection, they've hovered over them so much. And even though the child is fighting, I want to be independent, I want to go to college, I want to go out with my friends, the child is fighting to be free. But then when they get out there and get free and they face the trauma that their mother was afraid of, this is just an example, then sometimes they'll pull back. I better just lay low. I may not even know they're doing it. If a father feels powerless in the world, his son may unconsciously adopt that belief. No matter how hard I work, I'll never be in control. And we have to be mindful of that, because if that is our predominant mindset around our children, then 9 times out of 10, they're going to pick it up as a survival mechanism. Even if you're pushing them, even if you're saying, go play basketball, go be an engineer, go do this, go do that. If in your mind you have a defeatist attitude and that is what they see, then when they get in trouble or when they face some kind of difficulty, they will go back to what they know and what is familiar. And what is that? Is what you taught them and what they saw growing up. This is what psychologists call emotional inheritance, or intergenerational transmission of trauma. It's the passing down of unprocessed pain, passing down limiting beliefs, passing down identity distortions, not through DNA, but through emotional energy and unspoken expectations. When a parent hasn't healed their own story, they unconsciously recruit their child to carry it. And the child becomes the vessel. The child becomes the caretaker. The child becomes the confidant, the emotional shock absorber. And so the child grows up managing the parent's emotional world instead of discovering their own. All right. Is this making sense to you all? I'm using the child example because I think it's easier sometimes for us to get. All right. Now, this is why oftentimes we should always consider that our parents did and are doing the best that they can because they're navigating through some stuff. And I think sometimes we forget that the stuff they navigate through affects us. There's so much I could say about that. I literally was just having this conversation. I think I was having it with my mother and I had it with another friend. And I said, I realized through some things that I was just researching with a reunion we went to and another relative that had documented some things that I lived in a la-la land. And I had to thank my parents for allowing me to be in la-la land. You all hear me talk about how I'd be in my room playing my flute, had this organ, and I know that thing was loud, but they wouldn't say anything. And I would spend hours in there in what I'm calling this make-believe world. That's why when I would come out of the world, you hear me talk about in the book, I come out of this little make-believe world that I have, and I got my briefcase, and I'm really believing this stuff. And while it probably seemed weird to some people, I'm so grateful for it. Because it began to impact how I see the world today. You can learn more about that when you get the book. Let's break down the mechanics of what actually happens inside of us when we carry somebody else's story. All right. There are what you call neural pathways. The brain wires itself around repeated emotional experiences. Okay. So your brain's programming is rooted in repeated emotional experiences. Okay. Whether they're emotional experiences that you create in your mind or whether they're emotional experiences that actually happen, the brain doesn't know the difference. Okay. It's why when you have a dream and you think somebody's chasing you and you wake up and your heart's beating and you might be sweating and you may have just disheveled all the covers because you really thought that you were being chased, but in actuality, you weren't. Your brain doesn't know the difference. So it starts reacting, sending signals to your body, run, sweat, jump, increase the heart rate, change the blood flow. Okay. The brain wires itself around repeated emotional experiences. If you grow up walking on eggshells, if you grow up over-explaining yourself, if you grow up seeking approval, your nervous system begins to treat survival as love. All right. Creativity and courage are both required to access our divine gifts. I'm going to say that again. Creativity and courage are both required to access our divine gifts. Because the courage comes in because oftentimes you have this suppressed neurological programming that's going on that your body associates with, say, safety or staying small, and it's subconscious and you're not even aware of it. It has to do with the emotional experiences that you are nursing at the core of your psyche. And so what we do in the book is work to create, I'm speaking specifically to entrepreneurs, we work to create different thought patterns that will help us adjust our neurological patterns and ultimately our cellular structure. It'll change how we look. I can look at myself in the mirror, or I can look at myself on a picture and I can tell what the dominant energy was. Even if I'm smiling, no matter what, I know what it was because it literally changes how we look. This is why when our cortisol levels or our stress levels get really high, is because something's in our brain, some kind of worry, some kind of stress, something we're dealing with that we really don't know we don't have an answer to. We don't know how to solve the problem. It releases a chemical in our body, a hormone called cortisol. That cortisol then sets off a whole lot of other things, causes us to gain weight. That's why a lot of us may say, well, I eat one meal a day, or I don't even hardly eat at all, but I keep gaining weight. It's our cortisol levels. And so I know for me, I have a lot of projects that are always coming to me that are bigger than what I know how to immediately solve. And so I start learning how to work on, what am I thinking? What is my mindset? What am I feeding my brain so that I can begin to reduce those cortisol levels? And when cortisol levels or stress hormones are very high in your life, you want to figure out, how do I get some relief from that? This is going to also help, all right, whether or not it's going to help you determine whether or not you are carrying someone else's story. So things like creating an energetic interference. Every story, every thought, every activity, everything you do carries a frequency, a vibration shaped by emotion. So when you absorb someone else's frequency of fear, of guilt, it literally distorts your personal energetic field. So one of the things I try to do is I try to be very responsible for the energy I bring to the room. And I don't do that. I'm careful not to do that in a way that would make me phony or manipulative. So dealing with the truth, facing the truth, understanding what the truth is, and if I have to relay that truth, making sure I'm still doing that, making sure that I'm still not distorting things, but then making sure I am packaging it or looking at it in a certain way so that it doesn't always negatively impact somebody. Okay, we'll talk about that in another time. Then there's this thing called identity fusion, where over time you begin to confuse who you are with who they needed you to be. I'm going to say that again. This happens in a lot of relationships. Where we begin to confuse who we are with who they needed us to be, or who they need us to be. Happens in organizations, happens in companies, because over time we begin to practice these thought patterns, these behaviors, and pretty soon we begin to confuse who we are with who they need us to be. That's powerful. Many of our parents, okay, and ancestors, I talked about this the other day, lived through survival conditions, systemic oppression, instability, slavery, scarcity, and their stories shaped personalities. And if those stories are, rooted in fear, then that shaped their personalities and their behaviors. If their stories are rooted in resilience, if you hear I was listening to a podcast the other day, and it's called 154. It's with comedian Godfrey. I love Godfrey, and I love Nigeria, and I love Nigerians, and so I was listening to them talking about how even though there was a lot of scarcity and fear when they grew up, a lot of what their parents nursed them on was resilience. And so their personalities, their response to things became rooted in resilience. It's a powerful concept. So think about what you were rooted in, because you could have been rooted in fear. And now you're like, I got to change this narrative because this is holding me back. Now you know. And now that you have the awareness, you can change what you're nursing in your subconscious mind by changing your thoughts, changing your behaviors, changing your external stimuli, prayer, meditation. There's a lot of things that you can do, and learn how to treat yourself like a program. I know when it's time, like, you know what, let me take a break. Let me go take a look at the lake. Let me turn on some music. You got to know how to do that for yourself. Even certain types of music. Some of us love some sad love songs, but should we be listening to that all the time? Okay. So again, because our ancestors, our parents, because they loved us, they tried to protect us, like I was saying, by giving us a roadmap. But their map was drawn from a terrain that we may have never been meant to live. See, when a parent projects their unresolved pain onto their child, the father who says, don't trust anyone, the mother who says, don't aim too high, it'll hurt you more. They're not being malicious. They're trying to keep us safe because they're operating from their story of danger. And it's okay. And the beautiful thing about stuff like that, if they made it through their trauma to raise us, then that means there's other traits and other characteristics that you can look at and pull from, like their courage, their resilience, right? But you can't make that trauma your ceiling. Like, this is as far as you evolve. And sometimes it becomes our ceiling because we're just not aware. We can't ascend into our purpose while we're tethered to someone else's fear. To access our divine gifts, we must respectfully return to what is ours. All right, y'all doing okay? Let me see what y'all doing in the chat over here. All right, thank you. I see you out there. 8302 Haas 1 says yes. Ikul Aqua says walaikum salam, Sister Sajda. Mom says happy Friday. Dante M says yes, ma'am. Have to be in a constant state of mental and spiritual renewal. The same principle as fasting for 3 days. That's exactly right. Always recalibrating yourself. Okay, that's the idea. Let's see, did I miss anybody? Okay, I'm gonna keep going. Okay, if you guys don't have any questions. So releasing someone else's story isn't about blaming someone else. See, when you blame somebody else, you give them power. Did you know that? When you blame somebody else, you give them power. Blaming gives up power. If you hadn't done X, Y, Z, then I wouldn't. You're giving them power. You're giving up your sovereignty. So when you release another person's story, you have to reclaim your energetic sovereignty. And let me say this to you. When you learn how to have high-level relationships, you don't try to control or manipulate or manage or package and divide up another person. Usually we do that. We're trying to control people because we want to put our story onto them. So a lot of people are either insecure or they're lying about something. And so they're constantly putting their story onto somebody else because they want to make sure that they maintain control of what it is you believe. So they have to try to take over your energetic sovereignty so that they can make sure that the image of themselves that you have is one that is of value. And this oftentimes is how we get caught up in somebody else's story. It's a form of abuse. All right. So let's talk about how do we release somebody else's story. We're not blaming them. We're not trying to hurt them. We're just saying, hey, I'm trying to claim my own story. I want to be very clear on where your story ends and where my story begins. I respect your story. There might be some good stuff in your story that I want to absorb, but I want to do that naturally. Okay. First thing we have to do is name it. Like I said at the beginning of the show, awareness is the first act of freedom. Ask yourself, whose story am I living? Is this belief emotion, or reaction truly mine? Or was it inherited? Is this really how I feel? Name it. Ask yourself that question. Get used to talking to yourself. Number 2, you want to separate compassion from reality. You can love someone deeply without carrying their burden. You can recognize their burden. You can say, I'm going to help you with your burden, but you got to realize their burden is not you. You might be helping, but it may not be you. When we do things like get married, right? We decide your burdens become my burden because we now become one. But a lot of us walk around with people that we don't have a matrimonial relationship with, and we start carrying their burdens. This should be something that you do selectively. Someone may say, you know what, I really need help with this or that. I need you to help me feed my children. Then you carry that burden. You consciously decide, I'm going to pick that up. I'm going to consciously help you do X, Y, Z. I'm going to consciously, be your midwife. I'm going to consciously support your business. I'm going to consciously come in and help you meet some of your goals. You want to be able to do that from a very awakened state. You don't want to be manipulated into carrying somebody else's burden. You don't want to be manipulated into blurring compassion and responsibility. The third thing is we want to make sure that we know how to energetically recalibrate ourselves. Replace old vibrations with new things, new affirmations like I'm safe in my own story. I'm free to expand beyond inherited limitations. Yesterday, I was thinking about this and something that came to me. I see a lot of people using affirmations and stuff like that. And sometimes they work. Most of the time they don't, because your subconscious knows that it's a lie and it's not true. And sometimes we'll say, I just keep telling myself this over and over again. But you got to start having little micro goals that get you closer to what it is that you're affirming. But a quick way that I came up with, because I start realizing, I was telling you, I grew up understanding that God prepares a table for you in the face of your enemy and enemies or enemy. But I also can bear witness in my own life. And how many times things worked out when I thought they wouldn't. How many times somebody was there for me when I didn't plan on it. How many times something was happening behind the scenes and I didn't even know it was happening. And if it didn't happen, it could have ended up badly for me. All the times, right? And I said to myself, as I was just kind of going through that and saying a gratitude prayer, I am so beloved by God. And so I started joking. I said, I'm Sajda the beloved. And so I started going around yesterday telling people to tell yourself, say your name and say, I am so-and-so the beloved. A lot of people have a hard time with that because they say, well, I would say, somebody said to me, I would say that I'm Jimmy, one of the beloveds. I said, no, you are Jimmy, the beloved, because you are the beloved of God. There's so much mercy and so much grace that is happening around us all the times. So many times that we could have been dead. So many times that some people could have been in jail. So many times that we could be sick. But the beloved takes care of us because we are his beloved. So I'm Sajda the beloved. You are you, the beloved. Just saying that and embodying that in conjunction with all the beautiful things that happen in our favor that we know nothing about is an energetic recalibration. The fourth thing is we have to forgive the transference. Forgiveness doesn't excuse the act. It breaks the energetic contract. So forgive. You don't got to necessarily forget, but just forgive. Somebody asked me one day about somebody that they knew had done some things to me. And they said, I see you talking to this person. I said, I care, but I don't care. That's not part of my vibration. I'm not going to let the transgressions or the challenges or the struggles of this person impact me. I'm not going to carry their story. And I tell you something else. We got to reclaim our inner child. Comfort that part of you that carried the weight. Tell your inner child, you don't have to hold on to their pain anymore. You get to play now. You get to create. This is something that I was practicing for a long time. And I'm one of these persons that I have recurring dreams. I don't have one going on now, but sometimes I'll have the same dream every night. There's a couple that I've told you all about, but one is where I would go to sleep and I would see myself as a little girl, somewhere around 7 years old. And I'm like sitting up on like a box or a crate, but it's up high enough that I'm looking up at myself. And me as my adult in the dream, I'm trying to figure out how to get myself down from there. And I have this little solemn look on my little 7-year-old face, and I'm just sitting there. And this went on. This one probably lasted the longest. And as I started to just unravel some thoughts and understand where my story begins and who I am, one day I had the dream. And before I laid down, I said, I'm going to figure this out tonight. And I went to sleep. Sure enough, I dream. I look at myself. I see myself sitting up there on this like platform thing. And I'm like, huh. And then I just happen to look over to the left, and there literally are some stairs. And when I'm going up the stairs, I feel myself just releasing and forgiving and moving to that next level. And I go up the stairs and I pick myself up. And now I got myself. And as I got up the stairs, that little girl that was me, that was on top of that platform, that had this really solemn look, started to smile. And as I smiled at myself, my adult self, I picked myself up and we flew off, and I never had the dream again. But I can go back to it now that I was able to reach myself and add more to the story consciously now. You know, we flew off to go conquer this, or we flew off to go blah, blah, blah. And I've added to it. But it's a way of just releasing those burdens. You got to let go of some of other people's story. When you let go, you don't lose them. Sometimes we think that. Sometimes we identify that person with their story, and we think that if we let go of their story that we're going to lose them. But actually, you will liberate both of you. Because believe it or not, your energy is powerful too. So their energy is powerful, and then that they're reaching out for help, for expression of their pain, for their trauma. And then your energy is powerful because you're giving it back to them and you're embodying it in your own life. And now you start to find that your life is limited to where theirs is. But when you let all that go, you free both of you. Because every soul story is like a frequency band in one big old universal orchestra. When you return someone's story to them, give them their story back. Give them their story back. You know what? I love you, but this is your story. And I'm willing to consciously help and support and do what I can when I can. I have to give you your story back because I have to be clear and have clear delineations of where your story begins and my story begins. I have to separate the two. I hope this makes sense. I'm not trying to make us selfish, but I am trying to make us selfish. Being selfish is okay because we have to evolve ourselves in order to be able to help someone else. And some of us say, that is my father's story, my mother's story, my cousin's story, my auntie's story. I really want to help them. But you can't necessarily help them by allowing their story to overtake your life and who you are. You have to create some form of separation so that you can continue to elevate and evolve, and then consciously choose what parts of their story you want to absorb. Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, it reminds me of him saying, let there be no compulsion in religion. Let there be no compulsion in our emotional inheritance. Every soul must walk its own path to divine realization. You can't do it for somebody else. Okay? I want you to honor the stories. And I want, here's something that I say. I honor the stories that shaped me, but I choose to live from the truth that awakens me. I'm going to say it one more time. I honor the stories that shaped me, but I choose to live from the truth that awakens me. Release the narrative that was never yours. Step into the vibration of your authentic frequency. That's where your genius lives. That's where your wealth flows. And that's where your peace begins. Other people's problems will kill you. And so when you decide that you're going to help and become a part of somebody else's story, somebody else's problem, again, you have to make sure that you are clear on who you are so that when you decide to help, because we got to help each other. That's a given, but it's how we help. How do we say, okay, I'm going to consciously be of assistance? You don't want to be manipulated into being of assistance. You want to be able to say, you know what? No, I'm consciously going to help you carry this burden. All right. So I'm going to say that again. Let there be no compulsion in religion, and let there be no compulsion in our emotional inheritance. Okay. I honor the stories that shaped me, but I choose to live from the truth that awakens me. I am Sajda the Beloved. You can insert your own name because your subconscious mind can believe and honestly rationalize mathematically that you are truly the beloved of God. You know that. You know you are the beloved. So when you say that affirmation, she said, I am Hazel the Beloved. When you say that affirmation, your subconscious knows you ain't lying. Every cell in your body knows you are not lying. 8302 has one, says, Inshallah, your book will be my birthday gift. My birthday is on Monday. Happy birthday anniversary. Thank you, and thank you. Thank you for grabbing the book. Appreciate it. Your subconscious knows when you tell yourself, when I say, I am Sajda the Beloved, I'm unlocking all of these dreams and desires that I have placed in my prayers, that I have placed in my vibration throughout my entire life, because there's no resistance in that. No matter what has happened to you, you know that somebody got to love you or else you wouldn't even still be here. So insert your name there. I am Sajda the Beloved. Sister said, I am Hazel the Beloved. And if you're in the chat, I'm going to say all of y'all names in the chat. I am Dante the Beloved. I am James the Beloved. I am Hazel the Beloved. I am Sajda the Beloved. I am Bonseal the Beloved. I am Iku the Beloved. I see y'all here. Okay, a lot of y'all being shy today. Insert that. Say that. Right? All right, family. So I hope you will get the book. Use this website right here, artandscienceofbusiness.com. If you're in Chicago, we encourage you to come out to our upcoming theatrical interpretation called The Day I Met God. You can learn more about that by going to ElijahMuhammadHouse.com. It is a theatrical fundraiser. It's a private event, so you'll have to register in order to attend. But I'm just so grateful. I'm grateful to be the apple of God's eye. Okay, family, we will see you all tomorrow morning right here on the Sajda Morning Coffee Talk. Y'all know where we talk about life, love, and business. We're going to continue. We may do a chapter read from the book. We may continue this subject. Y'all let me know in the chat what y'all want to do. If there's some particular concept in the book that you all want to talk about, or if you want to continue with this because you feel like it's unlocking something and unlocking it because it just helps you. Because we walk around, we'd be like, I'm Sajda the Great. I am Sajda the billionaire. And it don't feel all the way right. It don't feel like Sajda the beloved. Because if I am true to form and I'm praying and being grateful for all the things that Allah has done for me, then it's not hard for me to say, I'm Sajda the beloved. And being the beloved of God means that that table is being prepared for you. Things are working out for you in ways that you don't even know anything about. So when I bless people and pray for people, I say, may you receive more blessings, more goodness, more peace than you've ever experienced or imagined. You don't even have to intellectually be able to define it in order to be blessed that way. Blessings beyond your intellectual capacity, blessings beyond your knowledge, blessings beyond your will, blessings beyond your ability to do anything about it, blessings beyond your ability to heal yourself. You are beloved. You are the beloved of God. Say your name. I am the beloved of God. I am Sajda, the beloved. I hope that helps. Hope that helps to calibrate us, do a little energetic shift so that we can stop carrying all these stories. All right. May Allah bless us. I'll see you all, inshallah, tomorrow. We'll make announcements on what's going on and what's coming up. We'll do that tomorrow. Okay. Happy Friday. Do something nice for somebody today. Love on somebody today. Smile on somebody today. Give somebody a break today. Just give somebody a break. Maybe it's something you're supposed to do or say that is negative. Give them a break. Give somebody a break today. So thank you all in the chat. Yes, 8302 has one, says, it is truly helping me. That is the goal. All praise is due to Allah. Okay, family. Love you all. Support the completion of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad House Museum. We just got a few things left. Get y'all friends. I know y'all got deep pockets out there. The coins are still available. We got the fundraising play coming up, or you can just simply make a supportive donation. So we thank you. Thank you, thank you, and thank you. Assalamu alaikum. See you all tomorrow.
The Honorable Elijah Muhammad, who in my judgment is the master historian, taught us that of all our studies, history is the most attractive, and it is best qualified to reward the researcher. History is most attractive. Why should history be most attractive? Because history is the recorded time of the human family in its struggle to overcome obstacles. There is no life that is without struggle. The Holy Quran teaches us that man, meaning man and woman, is made to face difficulties. And after difficulty comes ease. But it is history that guides us through difficulty. For if you know how people who had difficulty yesterday got through, and if your difficulty is somewhat similar, then today we also can get through if we follow the guidance of history. This is why Carter G. Woodson and many of our black giants fought for black people to know our history. Because in not knowing our history, we don't have a guide. And without a guide, we are lost. No wonder the